Good morning, everyone. So today's video is going to be a little bit different. I've had a really rough past couple weeks. In fact, it's been rough past couple months, but over the past 2 weeks, things have just like really pinnacled both at work and in my personal life. But I figured I would just come out to the coast, sit by the water, and just reset a little bit. And while I'm here, I'm thinking I want to collect a bunch of little shells and turn them into a necklace. So lately on my Pinterest, I've had a lot of like marine inspired stuff pop up. And I really want to make one of those kind of like ornate layered necklaces with a bunch of little shells throughout. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick a bunch of these types of shells, drill holes in them, and turn them into pendants and string them along a necklace. So first, let's go just enjoy a little bit of life, and then let's go collect some shells and let's see what we can make out of them. I spent a few moments at the shoreline park, meditating on the subjective nature of reality, and then I went to get food. Alright, well, since this video is turning into kind of a vlog, I'm just going to take you along with me. So I'm going to start my day of self-care with a trip to a French bakery, because nothing screams self-care quite like eating a bunch of carbs. I went to a place called Bien Mérité, located near downtown Corpus. Calling it a French bakery might be a little bit generous, but it had a fairly wide selection of pretty desserts. And the atmosphere of the place was quite pleasant. The interior is mostly pink with gold and floral accents. I got an almond croissant, some tea, and I did a little bit of video editing while I sat here. Alright, I just pulled up to this like shoreline area and it's super misty here. So I'm thinking I'm gonna go for a walk, go for a little stroll, and then I'm gonna go collect some shells.
Immersed in the mist, the city felt very tranquil. The usual commotion of traffic and people felt almost dampened by the fog. The sailboats seemed to be suspended not only in water, but also in time. Walking through the streets of the city, I pondered the concept of home. I often find myself longing for home, but I never know what it is, where it is, or who it is. And I wondered if this city is my home, because this is the place where I get to reconnect with myself the most. It allows me to escape the daily grind and to explore the inner caverns of my mind and soul, while feeling the infinite energy of the Gulf waves. There's something relatable about how the practical, severe, brutalist architecture in the city is juxtaposed against the soft, natural, relaxed palm trees and Gulf waves. To me, it highlighted the complexities and nuances of life and people. How we all carry the good and the evil within us. How despite the pain and the darkness that we may have felt from a person, we can still see the light and the beauty in them. While admiring the old architecture of the city, I came to the realization that healing comes from remembering who you were. To not lose yourself to the tumultuous waves of life, you have to remember all of the intricate little details that shaped you and brought you joy in the past. When I finally felt alive enough to do things, I selected 5 shells and I began to drill holes in them. I used a handheld rotary tool with the fine tip to drill the holes. Some of the shells can be quite fragile, so I made sure to not press too hard when I was drilling. Now with the shells all prepared, I begin to assemble the other pieces of the necklace. I envisioned this necklace to contain pearly beads throughout, so I prepared the beads by giving them 2 wire loops, one on each side. And I achieved this by putting a wire with a loop on the bottom through the bead, and then trimming that wire on the other side and curling it into a second loop using jewelry pliers. I began to build up the necklace by cutting 10 pieces of chain into segments that are 8 links long. The chain links here are fused, so I had to crush them first, and then I used 2 sets of pliers to separate apart the chain links that I wanted to break. Then I started assembling the necklace. I used jump rings to connect the small chain segments to the pearly beads on one end and to another jump ring on the other end. Then I continued to alternate bead, jump ring, chain, jump ring, bead, jump ring, and so on and so forth. I grew this segment of the necklace until I had 6 beads connected by 5 jump ring spaced chain segments. Next, I used jump rings to attach the seashells to the 5 jump ring spacers on the necklace. I wanted the central shell to be special, so I connected it to a pearly bead and then attached that bead to the necklace. The remaining seashells, I connected them directly to the necklace jump rings with individual jump rings. I thought it would look pretty if the necklace had chain draped around each seashell, so I measured out and cut 4 segments of chain to drape over each of the shell except for the central one. For the central shell, I added 2 draping chains connected by the pearly bead. To finish the necklace, I measured out how much chain I will need on each end, and to one end I connected a lobster claw clasp, and to the other end I connected a small segment of larger chain link chain to clasp onto it. After briefly trying it on, I realized that the outer draping chains really did not drape very well at all, so I took them out and I left only the 2 that are closer to the center, and I added some beads to drape off of those to kind of like weigh them down.
Okay, so I took out the outer loops that I had initially placed there, and I also added these like little dangly things to the inner loops. And honestly, I still don't like it. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take out these loops completely, and instead I'm going to take the little beads and I'm going to dangle them off of like straight chain in a couple places. I think I'm probably going to do a total of 4. I'm going to do one right here, like one right here, one right here, one right here, one right there. And then hopefully once I do that, I'll be satisfied.
I took out the draping chains and I cut each of them in half, thereby creating 4 segments of smaller length chains. Then I assembled 2 more dangly pearly beads by putting a flathead wire pin through the bead, cutting off an excess of the wire, and curling the remaining end of it into a loop. Next, I connected the dangly pearly beads to each of their respective chain segments using jump rings. And lastly, I connected the dangling chains to the jump rings adjacent to the pearly beads on the necklace.
So I finally finished this necklace, and I really like how it turned out. It's giving these like angelic mermaid vibes, and I'm ashamed to admit, but it took me literally months to complete it because I was just really out of it the past couple months, but I'm finally doing things. I'm finally making stuff. The intro for this video I actually recorded back in February, so sorry for it being a little bit out of date. But I really like the necklace. I think it turned out quite well. The only thing that I would change is probably these last shells, like the ones that are on the edges. I probably would have brought them in a little bit closer to the middle, because I think as I move around, they're probably gonna like turn over a little bit. But I like the little dangly, the dangly beads. I think that was a good choice. But yeah, overall, I'm pretty happy with how it turned out. I think I'm gonna wear it a lot with my summer outfits. Thank you guys so much for watching another one of my creative efforts. To be completely honest with you, sometimes this YouTube endeavor keeps me from falling into complete despair. So thank you again for watching, and hopefully I will have another video for you soon. Until then, bye.